Hello, welcome to another reading vlog. This week I'm going to be reading some fantasy books and I'm very excited because I haven't been reading as much fantasy as I would like to lately. But this week, firstly, I'm going to be continuing my Cosmere Brandon Sanderson reread with Warbreaker. So I've read this one before. I will soon be getting into Cosmere books that I maybe haven't read before. But Warbreaker I have read before. I do really like it. Basically, we are following a bunch of different characters, but primarily we've got this kingdom that's promised the oldest daughter to go and marry the god king from this other kingdom, but at the last minute the king decides that he doesn't want to send his oldest, most favorite daughter, so instead he sends the youngest daughter, and she's totally unprepared. There is also a character in this called Lightsong that I really love, and he is a god, but he doesn't believe that he's a god, and he is also hilarious. So I'm really looking forward to my reread. As well, I do have the Warbreaker Secret Project swag box waiting for me at my sister's house. I will probably get it in the next day or so. And then I think I'm going to do what I did when I was reading Mistborn, and I also got the Mistborn box. The timing has been great. So what I'm going to do is every quarter I'm going to reward myself by pulling something out of the box, because I think I'll enjoy the things in the box more when I've read some of the book to remind myself of everything that's going on. To be honest, my dream item to be in the box would be Nightblood. Nightblood is a talking sword in this, and I love him, but I don't think it's realistic to expect that there would be a sword in the box. So we'll see what else we do get. The other thing that I am reading this week is A Gathering of Shadows by V. Schwab. So this is the second book in the Darker Shades of Magic trilogy. I'm rereading this trilogy, so this is another reread, and I'm reading it in preparation for The Fragile Threads of Power, which is like a new spin-off series in the same world. So in this world, we have these different Londons. We have Grey London, which is our London and has no magic. We have Red London, which is really thriving and abundant with magic. We have White London, which is being starved by magic. And then we have Black London that's been locked away because something went horribly wrong with magic there. And we also have these characters who are able to move between the worlds. And in the first one, they kind of had this big quest they had to go on. The second one hasn't really gotten into it. So I did listen to about an hour of the audiobook this morning. But I think from memory that there's like a magic tournament. But also, so the first audiobook in the trilogy that I read a little while ago had this narrator that was very British, and I didn't really like his narration. And then I picked up the audiobook for this, and it has Kate Redding and Michael Kramer as the audiobook narrators, and they are the narrators for the Wheel of Time books. I've just finished reading the Wheel of Time, and it's a struggle listening to this audiobook and not feeling like I'm in the Wheel of Time, because the way that they're reading this book is so similar to the way they read the Wheel of Time books that I felt like there's a bit at the beginning from Lila Bard's perspective. Lila Bard is kind of this, originally she was a thief living in poverty, but now she's kind of wanting to become a pirate. I really love her, but during her part, I kept thinking that I must be listening to either Nynaeve or Egwene's perspective, because that's what it sounded like to me. And then when we got to Kel's perspective, so Kel is an Antari who can move between the different worlds and is a representative for Red London, I thought it was Perrin from the Wheel of Time. So I'm really hoping that as I get further through the audiobook, I can reset my brain and start feeling like I'm in this world rather than I'm in the Wheel of Time, because otherwise that's going to be a struggle, because I didn't really like the Wheel of Time and I don't want to feel like I'm back there again. But I did really like the first book in the trilogy on a reread, so I'm hoping I'll really like this as well. So hopefully this is a pretty safe bet to be a good reading week. I think it's only the audiobook of this that's making me worry a little bit. Hello, so I have my Warbreaker box. To be honest, I'm a little bit worried that the contents sounds like it does, but we will see what happens when we open it. I have read a quarter of this, so I'll update you on that, then I'll open the box. But firstly, let me update you on A Gathering of Storm. This, I'm actually, I think, about a third of the way through the audiobook already, because I went for a long run the other day and just got through lots of it, even though, to be honest, I'm just really not loving the audiobook experience. I just can't get over the narration style. I don't like the way that any of the characters are being voiced. I don't feel like it's properly displaying the way that they are. It's not properly displaying their personalities or their characters. It's just, I don't like it. And it's so frustrating because I didn't like the audiobook for the first book either, even though it was completely different. I think I liked it better though, and I'm not sure how much of that is being tainted by my experience of the Wheel of Time. But I don't think it's right. I would definitely not recommend the audiobooks for your first read of this series. But like, it's fine as a reread, I guess. The other thing though is that so far, not much is really happening. It's kind of basically just set up Lila and her pirate exploits, and then also Cal kind of feeling stuck where he is and like frustrated that he can't go out and explore like Lila is. But then they're all going to come together for this magical tournament. Really, that's just been introduced. We haven't even gotten there yet. There's not really any stakes. Like in the first book, straight away, some big stuff was happening with the magic. In this one, like, there's a few things, but really, I don't feel like it's gotten going yet, even though I'm a third of the way through. But I have also remembered that Victoria Schwab did for this series like a reread along where she goes through the plot. And I watched those videos for the first book, and as well as like talking through what's happening and kind of giving like a plot summary, she does talk a lot about like what it is that you're learning from each section, or like what she was trying to get across with each section. So it will be interesting to go and watch those and maybe get some more from that. But yeah, so far, I'm not loving my reread of this one, but I think it gets better. That's my memory of it, so fingers crossed with that. I'm still going to struggle with the audiobook style though. I just can't see myself getting used to it. Anyway, then the other thing I've been doing is rereading Warbreaker, and I'm really loving it. It's just a lot of fun. I do feel like this is much easier to read, whatever that means, than the Mistborn books. Maybe, I mean, it's a bit simpler, which is a pro and a con, but I am really having a lot of fun with it. I will say, so I'd forgotten a lot of the intricacies of how the magic works, but don't worry, because in typical Brandon Sanderson style, there is a table at the back explaining how the magic system works. What I did notice, so basically, people can gather breaths from other people, and the more breaths you have, the more abilities you get. And in this table at the back, it basically says, you know, if you have 50 breaths, you get this. If you have 200 breaths, you get this other ability. And when I first looked at that, I was like, why is this aligning with the metric system? I don't think the metric system is particularly magical. However, it does say a bit later that it's not precise, it's just approximate, because there's other factors involved as well. But basically, the main things that you get with this breath is the more that you have, kind of the more you impact the colors around you and they become brighter. So the God King is someone who has like just practically infinite breaths, and so like color almost seems to like distort around him, or like color can be created even from white when he's around. And there's also people who can use the breaths to like animate inanimate objects. So we do have this other character that I always forget about, who is the owner of Nightblood, the magic sword that I love so much. So why do I forget about him? I think just because I always only remember Nightblood. But he is what they call an awakener, who goes around and awakens these inanimate objects using breaths. And then we also have the returned. So the returned are basically people that have died and then been reborn. In this city with the God King, the God King is a returned, but also all the gods are returned. And every week they need someone to sacrifice a breath to them in order for them to keep living. So our character Lightsong, who is a god, kind of, he's enjoying all the perks he gets of being a god, but also he feels somewhat guilty because every week someone has to give him their breath. And people can keep going on living without breaths. But in this other city where they've sacrificed the princesses, or the city the princesses have come from, they kind of see your breath as your soul. So like giving away your breath is like losing your soul, maybe? So there's a lot of really interesting ideas. Things haven't really gotten going yet either, but I'm only a quarter of the way into this one. And like, there's just been so much set up of the world and the characters. Whereas because this one is a second book, we already know a lot of the stuff that we're getting now. Maybe it's because I read the first book recently, so I didn't need that reintroduction to the characters. But I think so far this one I think is a little bit longer than it needs to be. And this one there are stakes already as well, and like obvious conflicts, whereas this is less clear. Anyway, let us open up this box because I'm excited to see, even though I'm only going to let myself take out one thing, and then we have to read some more before we can take out the next thing. Snippy snippy. I hope that when I reach in I don't just feel lots of broken things. No, I think it's all in boxes again. let's take this box. Then we have to wait for the rest of it. What is it? Ooh, it's pretty. Isn't it like coasters? It's coasters. It's really pretty coasters. I think this is meant to represent like the, what's it called? The court of the gods. So there's 4 of these, but they're all the same. All matching. So I guess I'll probably use these for coasters. We kind of need coasters, so well done. Another practical thing from these swag boxes, which I do enjoy. And they're quite pretty. Nice. Hello. So I've read enough of this to open another thing out of the box. But first, let's update you on this one. So this one, I'm past halfway now, and we still haven't gotten to the tournament. As well, there has been like a little hint of like a dark magic thing kind of lurking on the sidelines, but also nothing's really happened with that. I did watch the first Victoria Schwab video for this, and like I can see all the things that are being set up, but still nothing is happening. So it's quite slow, this one. As well, still hating the audiobook, so like nothing's really changed. And I probably won't read any more until my run tomorrow, if I go on one. Probably I will. Then as well, I've been reading this. What do I have to say about this? I am really liking it. I'm surprised. So I'm halfway through. I'm surprised how little has happened. And like there's certain characters that we've had very little of, like Vasha and Nightblood. Very little. And even both of the sisters, and actually all the characters, I feel like we've had very little of them. Maybe it's because there's so many. And I also think, like, I remember the first time I read this, Lightsong was my favorite character. But this time, I feel like I don't like him as much. I find him a little bit annoying. And I think maybe it's because I just haven't been enjoying Brandon Sanderson's more humorous books lately, and Lightsong is a more humorous character. And maybe the first time I read it, it felt quite like novel and unique. But now I'm a bit like, okay, I get it. These are the jokes we're making. But there are parts, there's little parts of his stuff that I really like, but like most of it, not really. My chair is sinking down again, isn't it? Anyway, I am enjoying this, but I kind of just want it to get going. And there's a lot of stuff that's happening with like the political maneuvering and like the princess, the oldest one that's come to save the other one. She's involved with these mercenaries who are also quite humorous, actually. Not sure if I'm enjoying that humor either, but I think I like it better than Lightsong on this read. And they're doing all these things as part of this plan, and it's clear you're meant to think this plan is really clever, but the more I read these kind of plans, the more I think, would that really work? Is it only going to come together cleverly because that's what's been planned? Is it actually a clever plan in and of itself? I don't know. I have my doubts. Anyway, I'm enjoying this, but I'm ready for it to get going a bit more. And it hasn't really gotten into the magic. But I think this is like the first time you're reading this, everything that you're learning about the world is like keeping you busy with learning all that. Whereas it's on a reread. I'm like, okay, but give me more. So anyway, give me more. Let's open the next thing out of the box. What have we got? I was trying to feel if there's anything like broken in here. Oh, this is the card, I think. Yep. We're not looking at that because we don't want to be spoiled. There's quite a big box in here. Oh, but there's also something down the side here. Should I take this? This almost feels like food. Maybe this is what's been causing the rattle. I shouldn't talk while I'm rattling it. Maybe this is what's causing the rattle. Okay. So I think this is meant to be a picture of Lightsong on the front. And it's like a little tin of what? I don't know what it is. Let's open it. It smells a bit weird. Is it just like mints? It's got a little sneaky plastic thing inside the metal tin. I guess it's just mints. Do you think I could look at the card without spoiling myself? Mints. And they're kind of doing a whole play on like the idea of the breaths, and when you give your breath to someone else, because you can never take them, but when you give your breath to someone, you say, my breath become yours. And these are making you have nice breath for that. Okay, don't look at the rest. So I guess I've got 40 of these to make my breath nice. They kind of taste fruity. Hello. I feel like I've got big bags under my eyes, and honestly I'm really tired today, so that makes sense. But I wanted to update you because I am now 3/4 of the way through Warbreaker, which means that I can get another thing out of the box. I think I'm going to get the big box that's waiting for me because I'm excited about it. But as usual, let me tell you about A Gathering of Shadows first. So this, I'm now 80% of the way through, and honestly, the tournament has just started. So I think, like, when I was a little bit unsure, like, is this about a tournament? It's because it's more about, like, these characters just coming back to London and then their different roles in the tournament, and the tournament seems like it's not going to be anything. And as well, like, the black magic thing that's kind of going on is going on in the periphery. I feel like it's just going to happen to set things up for the third and final book. So this is feeling very middle bookish, and I'm not really a fan. To be honest, I haven't watched the video updates that Victoria Schwab did just because, like, nothing's happened, so I don't even feel like she can tell me anything, really. So that's a little bit disappointing, but I do still think that the last book will be good. I hope so, I hope so. Then we have Warbreaker. So this, I am enjoying it. I do feel like the magic isn't as big a part in things as it is in some other Brandon Sanderson things. The lighting is changing. The sun keeps coming and going all day. Anyway, there is kind of just the bit I've just read. One of the sisters is learning a little bit more about the magic, and there is still, like, a lot of questions around how the God King's magic works. But overall, like, there's not as much, like, Brandon Sanderson-y magic as there are in some of his other books. Like, the magic system is there, but there's a lot that's not really being explored. Like, for example, when these people use breaths to animate inanimate objects, there's a whole system around commands and giving them commands. And I feel like Brandon Sanderson probably made up a bunch of rules for that, but we're not learning anything about those rules, because the only character that really seems very experienced with that is Vasher, and we've hardly got him at all, even though him and Nightblood are still the ones that I want to learn the most about. Lightsong probably knows about it as well, but he is still trying to figure out what's going on with him. And I do find the Lightsong plot interesting, but I still find a sense of humor isn't hitting me as good as it did the first time I read this. As well, I will say, so there's the whole thing where the younger sister has married the God King, and in another author's hands that would be really smutty, and I could see someone rewriting this as a much more new adult kind of story with a lot of smut. And even though I don't really like smut, I almost feel like it needs it to make some of the character interactions feel a little bit more fully fleshed out. But of course it's Brandon Sanderson, so the relationship is more sweet and nice, sort of. Although there is some darker stuff going on in the world, so I don't know. I'm looking forward to the last quarter, but I kind of feel like it's not going to have that Sanderlanche that a lot of his books have. And so even though I'm enjoying it, I don't think I'm enjoying my reread as much as I've enjoyed my reread of some of his other books, and I also don't think it's my favorite. Maybe at some point I should try and do a Sanderson ranking. Anyway, whatever, now we're allowed to open up the box. So we've got this big box in here. I'm just going to pull it out and then we'll do the pin last when I finish the book. I actually don't know who the pin's going to be of. I know I've got Vasher already, but I don't think I've got anyone else. Oh, I will also say I've been eating the mints and enjoying them, and we're using the coasters. So far this has been possibly the most practical box. Oh. Does that sound broken? Hopefully not. I always struggle to open these Inventor Guides boxes, and also that thing where my chair goes down has been happening. Oh. So I can see why it's been making noise, because it hasn't been in the packaging properly, but also I got what I wanted. It's Nightblood. It's got a little stand for me to put him on, I guess. I mean, he's small, but he's still Nightblood. That's cool. Although I said I wanted Nightblood, and I am very excited to have him. But again, so far, 3/4 of the way in, we haven't had enough of Nightblood. Like, every little bit where he talks, I'm like so there for it. But there's so much more to him. Anyway, I got a sword. That's everything I wanted from this box, so I guess I'm really happy with it. Hello, so I have finally finished reading Warbreaker, which means we can get the final things out of the box. And I think I'm going to do that before I tell you about my final thoughts for both of these, because I want to see what the last things is in there. It's just the pin, I'm pretty sure. And I don't know who it might be. I feel like it kind of needs to be Vivenna, because I actually feel like she, of all the Warbreaker characters, is the most significant after Vasha in the bigger Cosmere. But we will see. So what's in here? This is the bit of paper they always have in there to kind of protect things, and mine was all kind of squished over to the side. I wonder if that is why my box had a few problems. Oh! And there's actually another box of mints in here. That's cool. I guess this is Blush Weaver to go with Light Song. So they are both gods in the Warbreaker world. So that's exciting because I've been enjoying these mints and I'm quite happy to have some more. And then the pin. Who is it going to be? It could also be Light Song, right? Let's see. It's Vivenna. I got it right. And honestly, it's so cute. She has this little... My camera won't be able to see this very well because I always turn off autofocus. But she has like this bright, sparkly, like glittery scarf around her neck, which I think is meant to represent that it's like awakened or imbued with breath. And that's really cool. I now wonder if the Vasha one had something like that too, and I just didn't really notice. But also, I tried to find the rest of my pins, and I have already packed them up for moving, even though we still don't know when we'll be moving. I already packed them up when I organised my closet the other week, and I don't know what box I put them in, which is a little bit annoying because I'm still going to get another 3 more of these. So I'm going to have 4 of these that really should go with the other ones, but I don't remember where that is. Anyway, I guess that's my problem, not yours, but this pin is super cute. So the thing with Warbreaker is, ostensibly, this is a standalone. You can read it as a standalone. However, there is supposed to be, at some point, a sequel. And to be honest, it sets up quite a lot at the end of it for a sequel. And there are a lot of mentions of things, especially in those last few pages, setting up for that sequel. And the fact that we are still waiting for that sequel, I don't actually know. Like, I know Sanderson has plans to write it, but I don't know when we'll get it. And I'm also now looking forward to my reread of the Stormlight Archives books because I know there are links into this and I've kind of forgotten them. But I think also maybe I'd pick up on more of them having more recently reread this. So my plan next is to read the Stormlight Archives. I'm kind of planning, because those books are so fat, to read them over 2 months. And then also I think I'm going to go in publication order, so I think that means I end up kind of alternating with Mistborn Era 2. And from everything I've read, that's the best way to go into it because there are spoilers at the end of Mistborn Era 2 for Stormlight Archives, or Stormlight Archive 4, The Rhythm of War spoils Mistborn Era 2 or something. Anyway, there's links. That's what I've heard. So anyway, what did I think about Warbreaker? There was a little bit of a Sanderlunch at the end, but I feel like it's weird. This book is long. But I feel like actually I don't feel like it was long enough to really get me invested in all the characters because there were so many different characters in here. And I think as well, like, my reread of this wasn't as satisfying because I had forgotten so much of it. So like, instead of picking up on the clues as I went, I was kind of just surprised by things. But I also, I don't know, maybe I didn't pick up on the clues, or maybe it wasn't as well set up as some of Brandon Sanderson's other pieces of work. I just feel like the complexity of Brandon Sanderson's other pieces of work isn't in this one. This one is a little bit simple. There's obviously a lot to the magic. Like in this last third, there was like a chapter pretty much dedicated to one character explaining the magic system to the other character. And I thought the end of the book is way too late to be doing this, really. And there's definitely a lot of scope in the sequel to explore the magic system a lot more. But I kind of feel like there wasn't enough of it in this book. And some of the characters, like personal development, felt a little bit jumpy because we weren't getting enough of any of the characters. And definitely the humour didn't hit me as well this second read. I feel like I sound like I'm saying lots of negative things. I still really like this. I still had a lot of fun, but it's just not at the level that you might expect if you've read a lot of Sanderson and not this one. And also I've seen a lot of people saying that this is a good one because it's a standalone, that it's a good one to read to see if you might like Sanderson, to give you a taste of what his books are like. And I don't know if I agree. I think you'd be better to like read something like The Emperor's Soul, or even just read the first Mistborn book, or actually Elantris. Everyone gives Elantris like a bad name and says, oh, it's not as good as his other works, but I disagree. Anyway, I had fun with this one. Then I also finished off A Gathering of Shadows. I have to say, Nothing happened in this book until like the last hour. I don't even think the actual tournament started until like the last 2 or 3 hours of the audiobook. Like, so much of this book is just build up and then it ends on a cliffhanger. Basically, this whole book is just set up, and then the very last line is like, hey, we've finally set everything up. Now we're going to begin the actual part of the story, which you have to wait until the next book for. And I guess what I got from watching Victoria Schwab's videos is that she's very happy with the way she's done that setup and finds it very exciting. And it is, but also it just means that this book itself is not necessarily a great story. As a piece of the trilogy, it's probably okay, it's fine. Like, I had a fun time with this. I like the characters. I did eventually, I forget if I told you this last time, but I finally got over the narration style and could just hear the characters as the characters. So I guess maybe that was just an adjustment my brain needed to make to get out of the Wheel of Time thinking. I don't know. But I did eventually get there. Maybe it was also just in the beginning so little was happening, and then finally when things started happening, I could ignore the narration style because there was stuff happening to distract me. So, very middle book of the series. But I am excited for the final book now. I do think more could have been done with this than actually was. So, it's funny because both of these were rereads, but I didn't really remember either of them very well, and I didn't actually like either of these as much as I was expecting to. However, I was expecting to love them both, so I still did have a good time. Anyway, let me know if you've read either of these books, because I would love to chat with you about them down in the comments, or let me know if you've been reading anything exciting lately. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.